What you're looking at is a 17 weeks old fetus, and what you're listening to is his heartbeat. But even though ultrasounds have become a familiar image to most of us, we still know very little about the secrets of conceptions and of the many possible dangers that awaits a mother and her child on the way to delivery.
Women are very special. Compare them to men. They're the ones that actually has to go through so much, challenges in life, of having the baby. And I think that is very unique to the woman's folk.
Can come sit down again, look here.
I'll set on admissions. Okay, can move on.
I guess you share in the joy of those, the parents when they have a newborn being born. You also share in the joy of a patient having recovered from the gynecological problems that she's had, and she comes back and says, oh doctor, I don't have any more of that period pain that I used to have, or the bleeding's all completely gone now, and I'm enjoying a normal life now.
My name is Geraldine, and I am 17 weeks pregnant. Today I have an appointment with Dr. Paiva. He is a specialist on women health at the Paradise Hospital in Port Moresby. I usually stay away from hospitals, as the thought of taking medication makes me really nervous. But I also know that plenty of women die every day around the world during child delivery, and most of the time from preventable causes. Over the next few months, I will be coming here regularly for my antenatal checks, but also to shed light into the mysteries of conception.
During the process of having babies, there's a lot of changes in the human body, which actually cater for the baby itself and the mother. And those you must have some knowledge and some expertise.
Delivering a baby, after all, is a natural event, and more than 15,000 new lives will be born before this program is over. But the more we know about it, the lesser the problems that we are likely to face.
So Geraldine, how old are we now?
28.
28. Date of birth would be... And your periods, Geraldine, were good before our friend here came along? Yes?
Yeah.
So your periods
actually,
every month?
Yeah.
So your last period date determines your date of delivery. So, it's really, really important that you give me the correct date. Yeah.
Oh.
So 16th of December, there it is there, 16th. And it'll be about the 23rd or so of September. So just a little past Independence.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It could be earlier,
Yes.
later.
Later. Smoking?
No,
Okay.
not at the moment.
Oh yeah, after we were pregnant, yes.
Not at the moment.
She stopped last week, yes.
Yeah.
And, breasts okay?
Yeah.
No pains?
I mean-
Well, there'll be a bit of pains.
Yeah.
The nipples pointing out?
Yeah.
That's important because when our friend arrives and no susu, we're in trouble, yes. Okay. All right, good. So first thing I'm going to do now is we're going to check your blood pressure.
Okay.
High blood pressure problems affect mother and baby as well, all right? And one of the things that happens is that you have the placenta, which is responsible for transfer of nutrients from mother over to baby, because your blood vessels and babies do not somehow join up together, all right? So there must be a middleman, a mailman, who gets these things, the nutrients, and transfers them to baby. So with high blood pressure problems, this function can get affected.
You said stop lower.
Kennedy Estate.
Kennedy Estate. Okay. Number 1 and baby again?
4 now. Last number pass.
And that's all.
The pregnancy is partially foreign. It's made up of the genes of the husband as well as the woman. And so the husband component is foreign. So the woman's immune system is suppressed during pregnancy, so she does not reject the pregnancy. But this creates problems for her, and some women do not modify their immune system well, and the preeclampsia condition or the blood pressure condition is a manifestation of imperfect immune adaptation.
For cases like preeclampsia, or where the mother and the baby are in some degree of endangerment, so then we always want to involve them in the discussion in terms of what plan of management we're going to do and what to expect in future, or if we don't intervene, what we're going to, the outcome. So the best intervention would be a cesarean section if we have to bail out now, okay? But that doesn't mean that we're gonna give you a live bundle that will stay until, an adult life, because this baby is going to come out as a premature baby, and the premature baby has its own complication.
Geraldine, I think what we do now is we're going to check baby, and we're going to do some little measurements and a little scan as well, which is probably what you're waiting for. So, we're just filling in some information before we do the scan.
The use of ultrasounds have changed the way in which women and societies experience child delivery nowadays.
2D scanner right now.
They give us a window into a world that was totally unknown till very recently in our history.
Are we able to find out if it's a boy or a girl?
All right. You can see our little friend in there. Well, I'm going to say it the way I usually tell people. You know those things down here that kind of hang down? Well, that's your answer. Things that hang down.
Even with the help of ultrasounds, finding out about the sex of a fetus that is few weeks old can be a difficult task, as both male and female look pretty much the same deep inside the mother's womb. But there is very little space for a child yet to be born.
Look. In case. Hey,
He's hiding?
I'm seeing something else.
What?
Geraldine, we might have to change this.
Is she a girl or?
It might have been a cord or something we were seeing earlier on, because that's why I said we need to check on a bit later on and see whether we are. Folks, it looks different. So head, neck, backbone, spine. Sorry folks, we're gonna have to change this.
Oh, it's a girl.
Oh dear.
It's a girl.
As women enter the second trimester of pregnancy, a crucial stage is already over. During this period, millions of cells have in fact turned into bones, lungs, and most importantly, the brain. The fetus has now managed to complete the basic structure of its body, and moving on will be all about getting bigger and getting there fast.
The second trimester is when all these different parts of the body and the organs actually are developing now to maturity. So you got the hands, the legs, the eyes, starting to form into the kind of structure it is now when the baby is born, okay? So it's structural developmental sort of a stage.
It's more of a smoother sailing period, as we say. The nausea and vomiting have gone, but as we said, the bulge gets bigger and bigger. But there are special problems that women can also experience during the second trimester. For instance, they begin to experience bleeding from the gums, and that's called gingivitis. It's because of hormonal changes that occur during pregnancy. There's a vast array of hormones that are produced by the placenta, but the main ones will be estrogen and progesterone. Progesterone causes relaxation of smooth muscles of the body. These are the muscles that are found in, for instance, the intestines. We have striated muscles, which are the muscles we use for locomotion, movement, and then we have these smooth muscles that are found in tubular structures within the body. Example, the intestines. And so movements, bowel movements slow down, and so she's not able to go to the loo as often as she used to before, so she becomes constipated. During the second trimester, there is also this risk of bleeding and miscarriages. But miscarriages are a lot less common in the second trimester than they were in the first trimester.
I will do that first, okay.
One of the commonest causes of miscarriages during the second trimester might be chromosomal abnormalities, which account for about 60 to 70% of all miscarriages, all right? But this will be like a late revelation. If it happens recurrently in a woman, maybe she's had 2 or 3 miscarriages in the second trimester, one of the causes would be the cervix that's not strong enough. We call it an incompetent cervix. A cervix that is not able to contain the pregnancy, so opens up towards the beginning or somewhere in the middle of the second trimester. So typical feature of this is that women start feeling some tiny niggling little pains, not real pains as such, and then suddenly the baby's popping out.
40 weeks pregnant. Spontaneously, about 10% of pregnancies miscarry. And this is because the pregnancy has not developed properly. These women sometimes just miscarry in the house and they don't come. It sometimes happens very quickly over a number of hours, and then the bleeding stops and they don't come at all, particularly in rural areas. I would suggest in rural areas the majority of women do not present with their miscarriages. They just sit around the house waiting for the bleeding to stop. And it's only when things get very bad or infected or they don't stop bleeding over a prolonged period that they end up getting to a health facility. Get the follow-up blood pressure management. And we've signed the anaesthetic consent form, and we've written a little note to say, "Dear Ward 11, please try and organise the TL for Saturday morning."
During the night, we work by ourselves. We did assessment, we did everything by ourselves. Then during the day we have a lot of physicians, the students, the nurses, the midwives around. They help in all aspects. But during the night, We did it by ourselves.
Really?
Yeah.
There are not doctors in that?
No, doctors there are on-call doctors around, but only one doctors in the labor ward.
Only one?
Yeah. Maureen, ko bayi kentanim, emi wale puta sa more sa bayi kentanim na gisusulo nana. Nugo tisili po sa bayi fili nungot sa. You kentanim na. Yeah, baby, heartbeat them goes 150, 170.
Just sit there.
Yeah. That dog still. I'm still bleeding. Let me check him.
It's not normal for mothers to bleed, but because she had, they call it atonic uterus, meaning that uterus is weak. It's not contracting enough. So once this is happening, then bleeding starts coming out. If we are not careful in the fluid management, then it's dangerous for the mother. I think she's probably intoxicated. She looks like intoxicated with alcohol. Yeah, it looks like that. You right or you not right? Yeah, baby's still alive.
I mean, we're struggling with the population as it is. There aren't enough schools. This hospital is not coping, clearly, with the people that need to use it, because people are coming from outside the national capital, from the periphery, right just around it. They're also coming from Central Province way down the road east, and even Gulf Province way down the road west. We've been pushing the government to build district hospitals in this city to cope with just the ordinary, everyday, common presentations for the last 30 years. So how many governments is that? Going back to Samari, Bill Skate, Rabi Namaliu, Pius Winty, Peter O'Neill.
All deaf ears to the issue?
Yeah, he is largely deaf ears.
Oh. It seems like every year there's more. The number of women coming into labor ward is just seem to be increasing every year.
You say go to clinic?
You just have to do a lot in a small time and limited resources.
Because in 31 years we have had we've had nearly 500,000 babies. Yeah, that's right.
These midwives in here, I see them, they're one of the best people to work with.
We have space, 2 beds, yeah.
It's like I like to ask them, like, what is it like before? Is it like this? What do you do in cases like this? And they keep telling me, oh no, Toto, we don't usually deal with this kind of numbers before, but now we are.
So by me just talk all same tasol, maybe try and best on night go long album Sharon Locarin babies. We've just been speaking to a young lady whose first baby died. There were many factors that led to this very tragic outcome because her baby's head rotated posteriorly. And so we tried to help her with some medicine to stir up the contractions a bit extra so that the baby's head would flex and rotate and deliver, but it didn't happen. And we got to the point in the early hours of the morning where we saw that it was not working out and that she needed a cesarean, but there was some delay. And then of course you come to the public labour ward. If you come to the public labour ward, do not expect private care, I'm sorry. You're one amongst 20, 30, sometimes 40 women, and there might only be 4 midwives. So if you've got any personal resources, please go to a nice place like Paradise, for example, where there'll be 1 midwife for 1 woman, as well as the clean bed sheets and the private toilet that's clean and all the other factors which make it a more pleasant experience to have your baby.
The night before delivery, Geraldine's baby's movements had suddenly stopped, and she was rushed to the hospital for an urgent check, because a baby that doesn't move means a baby that could be in trouble.
When you notice that their movements have declined and they are not the same as what you've been experiencing previously, we must take it seriously when a woman turns up and says she's not feeling baby move. And it can mean a number of things.
No free air.
The first one would be to do with perhaps the placenta not doing its work well, either spontaneously or perhaps due to an underlying cause like perhaps high blood pressure problems or diabetes. Then movements start declining. Or there could be accidents within the womb itself. Say, for instance, the placenta separates, breaks off prematurely. But there'll be other symptoms associated with that. So we call that placental abruption. Women will turn up with signs and symptoms of an abruption. Usually it's associated with bleeding and pain. And that's what might happen as well, okay? And then you can have other accidents happening inside. Perhaps the cord has knotted, so you can have actual knots being formed in the womb. And so as baby moves, that knot might get tighter and tighter, and eventually it cuts off the blood supply, and that's it. Baby's gone.
And now it's already gone down.
I'm trying to stay calm, but it's not easy. My contractions are too weak at the moment, and they're telling me that I might need help to deliver my baby. Over here, I have all the medical attention I need, but I can't help feeling nervous, and I could only imagine what it feels like to deliver a baby in a remote area of PNG, away from any medical facilities, and just with the help of a midwife.
10% of women are not able to spontaneously deliver their babies and require assistance, either by operation, that's called cesarean section, or by assistance from down the bottom end to help it come out vaginally, as babies mostly do. So we came along, we put the cup right back here on the flexion point, so we flexed the head, it started to rotate and descend with the second pull, and it delivered with the third pull. And it came out.
This brings us to the end of our story, and I guess I was a lucky mother with only minor complications at the time of delivery. Unfortunately, plenty of women continue to die every year during childbirth. Hopefully one day, our child will become a mother herself and learn from the experience that we all went through as a family to bring her into this world.
having an antenatal care, it's very important in a way that you help the mothers to help a better outcome in their pregnancy, okay? Having part of bringing, human beings into this world, I think that's what actually fascinates me, and it keeps me going as a doctor, okay?